First of all, community safety is my top priority. As mayor of the city of Chicago, it's what I think about every single day. All of my efforts that I have instituted since I've been mayor have been driven towards driving violence down in the city of Chicago. This has been a challenge for well over 60 years. And in part because of gross disinvestment, and previous administrations took an approach that, quite frankly, exacerbated the challenges in our community. And what I've said from the very beginning, the safest communities in America have one thing in common: they invest in people. And that's what we've done. We've invested in youth employment. We've grown that by over 50%. We've expanded mental and behavioral health care services. We're building more affordable housing to stabilize our communities. And then we've invested in our Detectives Bureau, because one of the challenges that we've had in Chicago for too long is that when violence does occur, justice is not rendered. And so we have a clearance rate now of nearly 77%, where we are bringing people to justice. It's clear that this is not about safety for President Trump, because if it were, he would not have cut over $800 million from violence prevention programs like what we have in the city of Chicago, where we have CVI workers that are working to disrupt violence. If this were about safety, he would not have cut the ATF budget by nearly 30%. My police department has collaborated with the federal government to get illegal guns off the streets of Chicago. Just a couple of weeks ago, we took over 170 guns off the streets of Chicago. Many of them have switches or attachments that allow for guns to be turned into machine guns. These are severe, high-power weapons. If the president was serious about safety, he would go into the red states where guns are being trafficked from, like Mississippi, Indiana, that come into the city of Chicago and cause the type of violence that we saw just this past weekend.
Mm-hmm. Mayor, we've watched similar acts unfold in Los Angeles, in Washington, D.C. In fact, just today, you had Mayor Bowser issue an executive order. It requires local coordination with federal law enforcement, quote, to the maximum extent allowable by law within the district. The order gives no expiration date. Are you and Mayor Bowser coordinating at all? Is it fair to say that you are not on the same page about the best way to go toe-to-toe with this administration?
Well, look, I know whether it's Mayor Bowser or whether it's Mayor Karen Bass or if it's Mayor Brandon Scott in Baltimore, we all want to build safe communities, right? That is, I believe, everyone's number one priority. Now, I put forth an executive order just this past weekend to give clear direction and guidance to how we prepare for, what essentially is an illegal, unconstitutional act. In fact, my executive order has been affirmed by the federal courts already, because the acts that this president engaged in have been deemed as illegal and unconstitutional. Look, the bottom line is this president is not serious about driving violence down across America, because if he were, he would be talking to mayors like myself and asking us what's working. There's a lot of work to be done, but look, I wake up on the west side of Chicago. I go to bed on the west side of Chicago, a community that has been disinvested in historically, and we have certainly had our challenges. Every time someone gets harmed by violence, we're talking about my neighbors, it breaks my heart, but it also reaffirms my resolve to ensure that we make the necessary investments to drive violence down. This president is trampling on our Constitution. He's behaving in a way that is undermining our democracy, and he's trying to get us to submit our humanity to his will. That's not what we're going to do in the city of Chicago. We're going to stand up for working people, make the necessary investments, hold the people accountable who are causing harm. But we need this president to actually show up with real investments. If he were serious, why did he cut 30% of the budget of ATF? 1,465 Americans who have been serving in these capacities got cut from his budget. For what? To militarize ICE, his own private security entity that causes harm and terror against communities. This president is reprehensible, his behavior at this moment. And that's why we're standing firm in the city of Chicago, to protect people, to stand up for people, and then to invest in people. That's how we're building the safest, most affordable big city in America.
Mayor Johnson, I talked to a number of people today that said you are, in fact, finding the strength to fight back, and a number of people that said, well, you are in a different situation than Mayor Bowser is in. That being said, something happened at the presser today that you all said that we want to get some more clarity on. The governor said during the press conference that they have reason to believe, you all, that the Texas National Guard has been mobilized and is staging. What makes you all so sure of that? And are you planning some preemptive legal action? And if so, why not just announce it today?
Well, first of all, the governor has received intel on good word that that's what their motivation is, because he can't federalize the National Guard here in Illinois. So he's going to go to Republican states to abuse his power. In terms of a preemptive act, obviously, if there's no crime that has been executed, there's no legal action that we can take preemptively, right? But I can say this: we have sued this government, the federal administration, multiple times, over 40 cases. We saw one where we just beat the Trump administration when he tried to withhold resources from cities like Chicago, who are welcoming cities. We put forth this executive order to make a clear distinction here. We're going to protect the people of this city. This president, I believe, has caused so much turmoil, not just across America, but around the globe. The illegal implementation of his taxes have already been determined that most of them are illegal. This president can care less about the people who are struggling in our country. I remember a time, Michael, when presidents declared wars on poverty. This president has declared war on poor people. If you look at the arrests that he made primarily in D.C., the vast majority of them were for traffic offenses as well as citations and misdemeanors. This president is not serious about driving violence down in the city of Chicago. This is about distraction, distracting people away from his failures. When the labor numbers don't work out in his favor, he puts forth another stunt. When his illegal activity and his proclivities are exposed, he puts forth another political stunt. I grew up in the 90s. He needs to quit stunting and actually do his job by investing in people. That's how we drive violence down in the city of Chicago. That's what I'm doing. Building affordable homes, standing up for working people, making sure that we have employment opportunities for our young people, making sure that we're investing in our police department with strategies that work.